Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. Happy New Year to everyone. We're so excited to be here and to kick off 2026 in the most powerful and inspired way. We are bringing back Kabbalistic astrologer Miriam Ashkenazi to share with you at least for the first few months of 2026, where to focus our energy, how to experience the greatest reward for the effort that we make, and also what to look out for as both gifts and potential challenges so that we can achieve the maximum growth and the maximum fulfillment in the first few months of 2026. Weekly Energy Boost is a spiritual 7-day weather forecast where we provide our listeners with the most practical and powerful tools to navigate the coming 7 days. We do that by searching through the wisdom of Kabbalah, and in today's case, Kabbalistic astrology, so that not only our listeners are equipped with the best tools for the coming week, but we offer wisdom and tools that you can use any week of the year, any year of your life. And because we have a kind of combination of two influences, or multiple influences, I should say, not just two, even though it's not the new year on the Kabbalistic calendar, we are starting a lot of new cycles in this beginning of 2026 from an astrological point of view. And this week, we're also beginning a new cycle in terms of the portions of the Torah, but also in the opportunities that we're given to grow and transform. There's a shift that takes place this week as well. The period between kind of October to December is in a way about expansion, about drawing new energy, about bringing into our awareness the things that we want to work on and shift and transform. And in a very real way, this week, the actual work begins. We're going to see different things surface, maybe from our past that we thought we put to bed, or it's no longer an issue anymore. We healed it or we worked on it. You might find that people from your past or different situations that feel like old, or why haven't I grown out of this? The tendency for this period, and we call them the weeks of the Shovavim, but it's really 6 to 8 weeks of things coming to the surface that we haven't yet done what we're supposed to do. So being especially aware, paying us extra attention to things as they come up, not as issues themselves, but what is this situation coming to help me learn, help me heal, help me elevate, help me transform? That's really how we want to approach not only this week, but the coming 6 weeks. And Miriam is also going to share with us different influences that are going to bring specific opportunities to the forefront, not only in these 6 weeks, but about the next 3 or so months. And hopefully with that, keeping those notes in mind, we're all going to experience a much better version of the beginning of 26 than we would without having this knowledge and these tools. So thank you for being here, Miriam. It's also exciting. It's so much. I feel it's so much of a better conversation when we can sit next to each other and we're not in different states. So the beginning of this year sees different shifts in the planets in different ways. I know that you mentioned, and maybe we should go slowly rather than tell everything in one sentence, but I think the best place to start is Saturn, you told me, is moving into Aries. Right. And I'm not a Kabbalistic astrologer, but I know enough astrology that Aries is a very kind of like fast moving, impulsive, like get it done, or sometimes just start it and don't even finish it. And Saturn tends to be a more slow, deliberate, serious energy. Right. So what do we need to know, and how can we take advantage of these two influences that are coming together right now?
Okay. So first of all, I'm excited to be here with you. Thank you for the opportunity. So yes, exactly. Saturn I would say, is actually starting a new cycle, because beside the fact that Aries is a sign that is like all about energy and action and doing things, it's also the first sign of the zodiac. And Saturn is entering into the sign of Aries, and Saturn is, let's just put it in perspective. Saturn is changing a sign every 2.5 years. Meaning that the last time it was in Aries was about like 30 years ago, if you calculate it, right? So the opportunity that we're seeing now is something that showed up 30 years ago. But the beautiful, unique opportunity is going to actually reflect through the other planets that also we're going to talk about soon. But Saturn specifically is entering into Aries in February. And it already gave us a little bit taste because it entered into Aries a few months ago. It went to retrograde back to Pisces, which is the last sign of the zodiac. And now it's just full force in Aries. So first of all, you said something really powerful. It's two opposing energies. We're talking about Saturn. Saturn is the planet. It's the last planet in our solar system before we enter into the 99% realm. We have like 7 planets that around the sun, and Saturn is the last one. And there are 3 outer planets, we call it. There is 7 internal planets, 3 outer planets that are more connected, spiritually speaking, to the 99% reality, to the spiritual reality. So Saturn is the planet that represents all our experience, all the things that we've learned. It's the planet that helps us mature. It's the planet that connects to the energy of the wise, of the older, of the more, slow-paced. It's all about, taking our time. And Aries is the sign that you mentioned before, is the sign that like rushes us to act, to jump into the water, not to think twice. Saturn checked the water before it jumps into it. So something that we need to understand from an astrological perspective, Saturn is considered to be in fall in Aries. What does that mean? It means that each planet has actually signs that they love to be at and signs that they thrive in. And there are signs that they're not feeling so confident or so great, so much in their willpower to be in. And in Aries, it's a combination of 2 air energies that are very conflicting, that are very different. Now, we might feel superficially that it is very challenging, and it can be very challenging. But Kabbalistically, spiritually, we learn that when you combine 2 forces that are opposing, that represent a challenge, it's actually a tremendous opportunity for growth. So what Saturn is helping us to understand, and this is something that maybe you would want to elaborate on, is the idea that in these 2.5 years, we're going to have a lot of lessons in what we call in Kabbalah restriction. Meaning, where in our life should I push? Should I go faster? Should I really pursue and resist the fear of jumping into something? And where in my life I need to slow down? Where do I need to take more time or to accept that things needs to take more time? And really the best tip that I would say, pay attention. In starting this February, but for the next 2.5 years, there are going to be things in life where the universe is going to show you it's not the time. Your work is to develop the certainty that it's not the time, that I want to work with the perfect timing of the universe. And there's going to be time that you'll feel like moving so fast and you need to jump into and to come up with quick decisions and choices. And this is a sign from the universe that Saturn entered Aries to help you manifest something faster, to actualize something faster. This is really powerful.
It's interesting because I think in order to do what you're talking about, you have to have a certain level of self-awareness, right? Like reflecting on where in my life I tend to be impulsive, quick to judge, jumping to conclusions, even mindless. Like to me, when you use the word restriction, the first step is really pausing. If you don't pause, you can't choose, am I going to operate according to my default robotic, this is how I normally deal with life?
Right.
Or am I going to pause and realize here's an opportunity to shift and embrace or move toward a higher behavior, a more evolved behavior? And to me, I really like, again, not being an astrologer, I can only use the buzzwords that stay in my mind. It's like being able to instead of being guided by your reactive, impulsive self, to be reflective enough to be able to say, in this area of my life, I'm not moving fast enough. I'm not going with the flow. I'm not being light, and to take more opportunities to be light in those areas. And in the areas of my life where I'm impulsive, I'm not restricting. Restriction is not the right word. That I really am not controlling my impulses. How can I be more thoughtful about what I put my energy into? And I think just having it in our awareness, which is why I like that there's a little time between now and when we need to implement this, that we can reflect on, how am I normally responding to certain triggers in my life, and what would be a more elevated response in those cases.
Right. And I think it's tricky. And I think it's tricky because many of us that maybe are less impulsive and less jumping into opportunities, right, would think that using Saturn in Aries is actually, it's good. I'm going to take my time. But like you're saying, the secret is go against your nature. And I think one of the bigger lessons from Saturn in Aries is also, it's time for us to really grow up. So what does it mean to grow up? Grow up is like, where in my life am I more childish? Saturn helps us to fix the childish attributes of Aries. And what is the childish attributes of Aries? Aries can be sometimes very selfish. Aries can do things sometimes without thinking, or come from a place of a competition. I want to be better. So we need to pay attention that we're restraining those energies, and that we really try to look at situations and opportunities in a way that is more mature, like Saturn. This is really an amazing opportunity for all of us to grow up. And even if we're more on the serious side of the spectrum, and we see ourselves as someone that is very mature and responsible and consistent and doing things in an adult way, there are areas of our life for all of us that we are more childlike, maybe more selfish.
I was going to say self-centered. Yeah. I think that one of the most immature behaviors or operating systems we have comes from those moments where we're self-centered. I don't want to share. I don't want to ask. I don't want to conform or adjust to myself to the situation. So to me, as a more responsible, more serious human being, for me, it's really to look at those, where do I fall to my own self-centered behaviors or patterns, and how can I see outside myself in those moments? Right. But I want to ask you, before, something occurred to me while you were talking. You mentioned that Saturn moved back into Pisces.
Right.
And so we have maybe a little bit more than a month left of that.
Right.
Is there something we can do to take advantage of that little bit that's left and won't come back another 30 years?
Oh, that's thank you for reminding this to me. So remember, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So it's all about doing, it's all about manifesting, actualizing. We need to assess our pace as we moving forward with Saturn in Aries. Saturn in Pisces gives us a taste of the past. Meaning, I want to mature, I want to recognize, I want to transform some elements about my past that maybe are still going to be a blockage in my power of manifestation moving into the future. So there is a lot of time for reflection. I have dreams, there's things I want to manifest. What stopped me till now? Where is it that I'm holding on to something from the past? Where am I not compassionate enough, empathetic enough? Those are attributes of the sign of Pisces. Pisces is also the access to the 99%, to the spiritual, to the metaphysical realm. So Saturn helps us to see things and to, again, grow up from elements that holds us back from the past, or areas that we're not admitting, that we're not facing or doing in a more, or adding a spiritual element into it. And that's what Saturn in Pisces is really helping us to do. So it's beautiful, because the next planet we'll talk about will be Neptune, but both planets being in Pisces for a little bit, for a few months, to give us that opportunity to really release all the energy that don't serve us anymore. So we step into this new realm, new reality, new opportunity in Aries, much stronger and much freer to really accomplish things in a meaningful, powerful, and free way.
It sounds like such a gift to have that support in, the first few weeks of the calendar year, right? Everybody's busy
Right.
getting gym memberships and, committing to do different things differently this year. To be able to have that, even whatever, just as we approach February, I think it's a real gift, that ability to reflect and to adjust so that when Aries does come into the picture, we're ready for it.
Right.
The other thing that you said that I wanted to ask about is sometimes with the Aries, it's hard to be patient. It's hard to trust that divine timing. And then on the other end of the spectrum, sometimes trusting divine timing can look like being passive, can feel like we're being passive.
Right.
And I'm wondering if you have any insight that can support us specifically in this time to be able to tell, right, is it time for me to act, or is it time for me to pause?
Yeah, I think one of the gifts of Saturn that it's a very slow planet, meaning that it's going to be in Aries for 2.5 years. So what it does, it slows down processes. It actually gives us enough time to figure that out. And the example that I like to give in Saturn in Aries is like when you learn driving. In the beginning, you have to figure out how much to put on the gas, how much on the brake. You have to figure that out. So I think you need to assess your pacing. You have to take enough time throughout the day to zoom in and zoom out. And really ask myself, what do I really want? What's my intention? Is it for the bigger picture? Is it selfish? Am I serving only myself? Then maybe I want to take a little time to reflect on it. Maybe I should slow down. If I feel that I completely come from the right place, that it's not only me that is in that vision, that in those goals, that I really truly feel that I make something for the greater good, then, push yourself. Don't jump on it. Don't just come with all your little shticks and little issues to not. So you really have to assess where you're coming from. And sometimes you'll make mistakes. Sometimes you'll jump into something too quickly. You're going to learn from it. It's the learning. Saturn is teaching us. It's teaching us through the transformation. So we're going to transform around the right pace, when to jump into something, when to slow down. It's going to be a learning experience.
What it makes me think of, that's connected to what we said in the beginning, is in these weeks, the portions are the reason that we have the opportunity to look at where the transformation is and where we can grow, is because in the Torah and therefore also in the Zohar, we're hearing about the Israelites in Egypt. Even though on the calendar itself that we connect to that later in the year, but the story itself, which means the secrets and the support to speed up that process in a way, is taking place in these weeks. So what's interesting for me is that in that story, the slavery was like 200 years, but the leaving slavery was very quick, meaning, that there is a process that we need to go through, and this is the time spiritually, energetically, from our soul's point of view, that we're going to go through a little bit of, wow, I'm a slave. I'm a slave to my selfishness. I'm a slave to my need to control. I'm a slave to my judgmental thoughts. And being able to, again, I think it's obviously divine support that we get to be able to reflect in this way, with the planet supporting us to do the work that's coming from that soul energy. It's really, really something special. I want to shift, though, because I know we have a lot to talk about with Neptune. Neptune is also moving to Aries, right?
Right. So again, we did have a little taste with Neptune in Aries. It's in a Pisces, and it's moving at the end of January for almost like 14 years to 12 to 14 years, depends with all the back and forth that he does sometimes with the retrograde. So it's moving into the sign of Aries. Now Neptune, we said Saturn is slow. Neptune is much slower. And I want to mention it again because it's important. The reason that it's slower, it's a further away planet from the sun. And the closest planets to the sun seems to move faster because they have a shorter orbit, right? And then Neptune, it's about 12 to 14 years that it spends in each sign. Now, Neptune, because it's a further away planet, it is connected to the realm that it's unseen. It is connected to the realm that is the metaphysical realm, the spiritual realm, the intuitive realm, our emotions. It's actually the planet that rules Pisces, which is the similar energy, and this is the sign that Neptune is living right now. It's entering into Aries. Now, again, we feel a little bit of conflicting energies because Neptune represents the end of a cycle, represent the unseen reality, and Aries is the sign of grounding, manifestation, doing. It's the first sign of the zodiac. You know, when you look at someone's chart and you look at the house where Aries rules, which is the first house, it's the things that are already expressed. It's all the manifested aspects of that person. Neptune is all the things that we don't see, all the things we can't grasp with our five senses. So Neptune entering into Aries also shows us a little bit of two different energies. So it's our dreams, it's our vision, it's all our hopes and all the things that we want to manifest or become spiritually. And Aries is grounding it down and helping us to manifest those things. When Neptune enters into Aries, this is the time for us to help us to actualize and to manifest all those dreams. And at the same time, because Neptune is also the planet that connects to the world of illusion, is to expose all the areas in our life when we live in an illusion, or all the relationships, or all the things surrounding us that don't serve us anymore, and we fall or choose to be attracted to or to engage with or depend on, that really represent like an illusionary reality for us, doesn't really help us become the best version of ourselves. So there's like two forces that are going to be very strong. And again, because Neptune is such a faraway planet and it takes time, it's also a planet that affects humanity and affects history in a big way. So all those ideas will probably show up in the way that, politics, the world history will shape up. All of these things of like exposing the illusion will show up for us in a grand scale, and not just in our personal.
No, I think it's important to expand on the idea of illusion, because I think Kabbalistically we regard the world of illusion in a different way than I think maybe is conventionally spoken about. That when Miriam is saying, right, the illusions will be exposed, it's really those false constructs. We even use the word movies, right? Like if there's a relationship that you have that is not based in truth and in integrity and in alignment, it won't be able to exist anymore. And it's not a failure, it's actually a form of healing and transformation. Like I remember that there was a period in the last few years where there was a similar influence, and there was a lot of corruption was surfacing. And so it meant that people lost money and people lost business and people lost anything that wasn't rooted in truth and integrity had to dissolve. And I know that when you hear about it like that, it can sound scary, like, what am I going to lose? But the fact that we use the word illusion because it didn't exist to begin with. That those illusions fall away because it wasn't real from the get-go. And we call Kabbalah the wisdom of truth, right? And I think one of the things that is happening now is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Miriam, but in a way, it's almost like we have to be more clear on our truth.
Yes.
Like that inner compass, right? It's very easy to get distracted by shiny things and excitement, but the real growth and the real fulfillment, we always talk about growth, but the truth is the result of growth is deeper fulfillment, comes from when we are surrounded by and involved in things that are deeply aligned with us and aren't rooted in that illusion, that fakeness, that external, maybe again, it's exciting, it's interesting, it's shiny, but is it real?
Right. I think something else it's very important to mention with Neptune in Aries is that you combined both energies. And one of the strongest powers of Neptune is to help us elevate to a place of more compassion, more empathy, to develop our intuition. And Aries is the sign of the leader, is the sign of like, how do we lead our life? And the biggest, I would say, summary for that energy, if we want to know if we're going in the right direction and that we're like passing this challenge or blockage of maybe falling into the illusion, is that we need to lead with compassion. And that's what we seek around us as well. If we want to know who to trust, it's the ones that lead with compassion.
It's funny because that's not a very Aries quality either.
Right.
Aries tend to put projects before people.
Right.
And we're really being called to do the opposite.
Personal agenda.
Right. That's the do you think that there's certain signs that might struggle more with that than others?
Maybe the ones that has those natural tendencies, like you're saying, like Aries. But I don't think it's the signs in particular, because it all really depends how spiritual you are, because each sign has elevated qualities and has qualities, or let's say parts that are more challenging. So if you are tapping into your greatest part, even as an Aries is the sign of the warrior, right? What do you fight for? You fight for the whole, you fight for something that will bring resolution and light to your environment, or you fight for something that is selfish. So I don't know that there will be signs that will be affected more, but I know that those of us that naturally are trying to be in control, that are trying to push very strong our personal agenda, that are more on the forceful part of achieving things, can suffer from that Neptune in Aries, or not take advantage of that beautiful opportunity of utilizing this energy to develop better compassion and connection and empathy with others.
So I'm going to ask you the same question I asked before about Saturn. While Neptune is finishing its round in Pisces, is there anything we can use right now in these next few weeks? I think you said January 26th, if I'm not mistaken, it moves into Aries. Is there any last minute, like you only have 2 weeks now to pack a bag. What should we pack in that bag if we want to take advantage of it?
Don't pack a bag. Sit, meditate, reflect, journal, close your eyes, do things that are more connecting you to be present, to connect to your inner voice, to understand what is it here that you need to, what inner voice you need to grow. Try to reflect on the past to see what you really need to leave behind. If you still carry that, that's going to come with you till the next time around, where Pisces is showing up with Neptune and Saturn. So really, this is the time to utilize the water energy, the internal power of the sign of Pisces. This is what it is, really.
It's, for me, very exciting. And I know I try to, whenever we have a guest, I try to listen through a listener's ears. And I know a lot of people are asking now, well, what about me? I have Aries in this, or my moon is in Aries, or my this is in Pisces. One of the reasons these episodes are so tricky is it's not really a horoscope. It's more the same way that Weekly Energy Boost strives to offer the energy and what to focus on for the next 7 days. What Miriam is sharing is something that we're all going to have to focus on in our own way, in our own, different areas of our life. If you want to know more specifically not only how these influences are affecting you personally, but if you're interested in learning more about your own personal astrological makeup, and I think most importantly, when you do those readings, you really see also the specific opportunities for you. Every time I do a reading, I get the to-do list for that year. And honestly, maybe you can say, oh, I felt that coming, or, anyway, I was going to do that, or I was working on it. But so much comes to your awareness that you wouldn't see coming if you didn't have that conversation. So we'll give you information at the end of the episode on how you can connect with Miriam and have a personal reading and see more deeply into your own makeup.
So there is one more thing I want to mention, which is kind of like the cherry on the top, is that, okay, Saturn enter into Aries and Neptune enter into Aries, but they also come in a conjunction, meaning they both in 0 degree in Aries. It's meaning like almost like holding hands in the same sign for about a month, from around February 20th for about a month, that they're going to be in what we call astrologically in conjunction, meaning that both forces are very, very strong. Now, to understand the opportunity, Saturn and Neptune in conjunction every 36 years, but in conjunction in Aries every 300 years, right? So the month of the time between the end of February to the end of March, when they both in conjunction, it's really, again, giving us a combination of everything that we shared now, the power of manifestation, the power of accessing our spirituality, accessing our intuition, accessing our most compassionate self. But the sign of Aries is also helping us to penetrate and understand how we want to act on it, how we want to bring those two forces together, the spiritual, the physical together. How do we create a plan for the upcoming 36 years now? Let's do at least like a 1-year plan that we can utilize this energy. So when Saturn and Neptune are in conjunction, sit and make your plan. Sit and make, a business plan or whatever plan you want to do. And anything that you envision, you're able to see it through and to learn how to manifest it as well. You can channel it. You can just find the time and the space to access this beautiful, supportive, cosmic connection.
I love it. So again, it's like just another confirmation that all of the work is really in this, let's say, next 2 months, really focusing on, or really being focused. Maybe that's the right word. Not focusing on something, but really being focused and intentional and taking advantage of the push, right? Because really, what are the planets doing? They're giving us the opportunity to do specific work. Doesn't do the work for us.
Right.
So that's why these conversations are so important. Lastly, and I know we're taking longer than usual, but lastly, Mercury, you mentioned to me earlier, is in retrograde, not now, but this year, only in the water signs.
Right.
Now, poor us. What's going to happen? What can we learn from the unique opportunities that are going to happen this year?
First of all, I love the Kabbalistic perspective on everything, but specifically on Mercury in retrograde, because everyone familiar with Mercury in retrograde is one of the most famous astrological shifts that takes place. First of all, because it happens 3 times a year. Each time it's few weeks. And the traditional thought about Mercury in retrograde, oh my God, plans are going to change. I'm going to lose all my files. There's going to be miscommunications. Yes, there is this part of it. But the reason that Mercury is in retrograde is actually the planet of communication. The way we think, the way we see things, the way we speak and communicate is slowing down, because it helps us to go back and to revisit and reassess things that we might have done, that we might have thought, that were not really aligned with our spiritual journey, with our soul's desire. So it's a slowdown for the sake of helping us to be better when it pushes us again and catches its pace again next time. So when it's in Pisces, when it's in water signs, it has to do with our emotions, with things that we feel, but each sign represents something different. Now, maybe the next time around we'll mention when it's in Cancer, because that's happening in the summer, or in Scorpio will happen around October when Scorpio comes around. But the first time it's in retrograde, it's actually in Pisces, right? And it's happening around February. The actual dates are February 26th to March 20th. And what does Pisces represent? We already said, but it has to do with our dreams, with our hopes. It has to do with the way that we express our emotional nature, and it has to do with the compassion that we feel to others. So it is actually a good time to tap into your dreams, to tap into your spiritual side. It's a time to revisit, to reflect, to reassess, maybe to write, to journal, to meditate, and to take count on all the times that maybe you didn't really access that realm of yours, right? Because a lot of us, especially when all this Saturn energy and Aries energy is a lot to do, less like holding back and trying to see, does that match with the things I really envision? Is that matching to my honest, deeper desires, to my dreams, to where I want to be? So when Mercury goes in retrograde in Pisces, you are encouraged to revisit everything that your soul really wants, what you really deeply dream to actualize and to manifest on a spiritual sense this year as well.
I love that. And I definitely feel like I'm due on a session like that. So to know that I'm going to have 3 weeks coming up that I can do that work. And again, the alignment with the portions is, I mean, maybe, I don't know if anybody thinks this way except for me, but it's like so beautiful to see how almost like we don't have any excuses. Do you know what I mean? Not only in our studies and what we understand about the energy of the week and whatnot, we have this realization and this opportunity, but also this year specifically, the planets are in such a configuration that what's your excuse? You know, you have all the support that you need, all the guidance that you need coming from within, and the wisdom that you seek, it's out there to really actualize it. So, as I said before, usually when Miriam is on, we offer our listeners a discount for astrological chart readings with Miriam. The discount code is New Year 20. So I will make sure that the link goes into the show notes below and also onto weeklyenergyboost.com homepage. Do not sleep on this. It lasts for 1 week. So you don't have to have the session in the next week, but you have to book the session in the next week. The coupon expires January 11th, so do not wait. Miriam, thank you so much. I always get so excited when you're here, and maybe it's also a feeling of optimism. Like there's the way that you share things. It's like even the things that could be the most challenging are really something to be excited about, because we can accomplish so much in this period that maybe we didn't have the support to accomplish recently. So that's very exciting for me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Weekly Energy Boost is available on all podcast platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. You can follow us on those platforms to receive more support, more content to help you live what we talk about in every episode. You can also go to weeklyenergyboost.com to get that discount code for readings with Miriam and to read about all the things we think are important for our listeners to know about. You can search our archives, send us a message, and click the donate button to support Weekly Energy Boost. But as always, what a great episode to share with friends and family, people that you know that can benefit from hearing about this. Maybe you know people that are working on specific things, breakthroughs, plans, projects, and what we shared today is going to help them. It's going to help you. And of course, it helps us reach more people and really make the world a lighter and a brighter place. And we'll see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.